Well, I am very excited to introduce our guest speaker today. Even though JoLyn Chappell is at retirement age, she is still actively working and has had a diverse and dynamic career path, meandering to find the proverbial and elusive passion. Certified as a secondary PE and English teacher, she spent 3 years teaching before she married and started a family. While raising her children, she took on several odd jobs to help ends meet. She started a successful advertising business and sold it. She dabbled in real estate investing. And when her youngest was in first grade, she went back to teaching at Gunnison Valley High School, where she taught for 14 years. After teaching there, she decided she wanted to do something else and transitioned to getting her licenses to be a financial advisor. With renovating real estate in her wheelhouse, she decided to buy a dilapidated department store and restore it. That project became the BLDG 178 in Gunnison, which serves as an event venue and offices for a few professionals like herself. Does anybody know the BLDG 178 building in Gunnison? You've driven in on Main Street? Yeah, we're getting a few hands. She's going to talk more about that today. Above all, a mother and grandmother of 13 now, JoLyn enjoys her family time. She has structured her working life so that she has the flexibility to live the life she loves with her farm animals, family, travel, and Kubota tractor. Today, her goal is to discuss with you some things she has learned in her long life about finding a career path, along with a life of joy, and explore traits that might help you see if entrepreneurial adventures might be for you. So please welcome JoLyn Chappell.
If I told you about my life, we'd have to make this a semester seminar because I'm pretty old. So we're going to kind of limit today to some ideas, and I want to kind of have you guys help me direct this, okay? So I'm going to spend maybe the first 15 minutes telling you about my project with the Building 178 and some things that I've done and why I've done them. And then I just kind of want to open it up and see which direction we want to go with this with questions and such, okay? So I'll be getting into the demographic of where you all are because that kind of will help me connect to you and help structure it for something that might work for you. I also kind of messed around with something that's kind of entirely new to me, which is AI. I don't use it much. Do you? Raise your hand if you use AI. Gosh. Okay, so if you want to be humbled, you ask AI to make a presentation about you. They're like, not enough public information. So you have to kind of do it. All right, so just briefly, this is kind of what AI helped me with. I didn't even want to do a presentation, a PowerPoint, but here it is. So anyway, a life of adventure, growth, and education. That's what it said. So I had a bit of a journey to get where I am, and I'll kind of tell you a little bit about that. I was certified in secondary education, as Russ said, and I'm going to just move on from that one. All right, so my academic foundation was Gunnison Valley High School. How many of you are from a small town in Utah? In San Pete? Okay, so a lot of you. So you can relate to the way I was raised as well. I was raised as a Mormon LDS and raised with that upbringing of being involved with community and church and service and etc. And so that's kind of where I thought about, okay, I'm going to choose an occupation that helps a stay-at-home mother because I always wanted to be a mom. So I did a lot of the things in the high schools. How many of you were involved with so many things like academics, all of the extracurricular, all those things? You kind of have to do it in a small town. For you guys who are from a bigger school, how many of you did extracurricular activities? Did you do extracurricular? Okay, so you know how that shapes your life, right? Makes you learn some leadership skills, etc. I came here to Snow College, and I decided to earn an Associates of Arts because I watched as a freshman the procession going up to the Activity Center for graduation, and some people got to walk in the front. And I said, who are they? How did they get to do that? And they said, well, they're the associates of arts and not science. So there's a tip for you if you're a freshman. You got to get your arts or humanities in there, and then you get to walk at the front of the line. So that's what I did. And my emphasis was in learning Spanish. Yeah, 1 year, and I was able to walk in the front. Anyway, so all of this in building a career, I just tried to go on. How many of you are going to pursue 4-year degrees here at Snow? I think they have that now, right? They have 2? So back when I was here, the school was much smaller than most of your high schools. If you came from a city, I think there were maybe under 500 students. And so it wasn't big at all. And we had to move on to a university level. So I went on to Utah State, tried to develop all the personal skills. I think AI just filled this in because you probably should, right? Pursue ideas of critical thinking. Anyway, my motivation to pursue physical education and such was basically because in extracurricular activities, it was a lot of sports. And I wanted to do that. And I thought teaching is a good mom job, right? How many of you have ever thought that for your family life, that teaching might be a good thing because you have the same hours as kids? And that's fun. And I wanted to do that. So I did. But then I've had some challenges facing, obviously everybody's concerned about being able to make enough money. Has that been your concern as you've chosen a career? Yeah. I mean, why do it, right? Unless you're independently wealthy already. Anybody? Okay. So you want to worry about your money. So I married, my husband was also an educator. And so trying to raise a family on one educator's salary is not easy. And you got to do other things. And he did other things, and I did other things. And that's when I went into advertising. I did an advertising thing where it used to be we had phone books, and we had a yellow binder that we created that gave basically you guys don't know what Yellow Pages is, do you? Raise your hand if you know what the Yellow Pages is. Oh. A few. Anyway, that was like the directory of where you looked up what business you want. And so we put it on the outside of the phone book. And so that any phone book that they used, they could have the directory. And so I went around and sold that, and then we delivered it for free. And some of you, when you go to your grandparents' house here in San Pete County or even Sevier County, you might see one laying around in a drawer if they don't get rid of stuff. But that's what I did, and I sold that. But mainly I did it so that I could have my freedom. But I love teaching, and so I'm just going to close that out because I don't even like it. All right. So I decided, all right, I'm going to go into teaching because that's what I like. I like to teach kids. When it was Christmas break, I couldn't wait to get back to school. And then that changed. And when my family started I started getting grandkids and stuff like that, I'm just like, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be stuck here where you have to leave a lesson plan and it's hard to leave. You only have so many days off. I want the freedom to call my schedule. Not that I was afraid of hard work or even being resilient in something. It was more just that I wanted like if my granddaughter was going to be in a play, I wanted to be able to go without taking a day off of school. So it gave me the freedom. And a lot of you have thought about being an entrepreneur in here, right? Can you give me a raise of hands who has thought about being an entrepreneur? I mean, it's an entrepreneur class. Now, with your hands up, how many of you have an idea for a business already? How many of you do this? Raise your hands, all of you. Do this if you think, I don't know if I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, so some of you are pretty set on it, some maybe just experimenting with it. So I had done some real estate renovations when I was raising my kids because I was able to do that on my own time frame. And I decided to buy this dilapidated, I'm just going to go through this now. This was the old Christensen's department store. It might remind you sort of Jensen's in Manti. but they've kept theirs nice. And this one continued to evolve and be something else. And then it became a video store. We don't need video stores now with all the streaming things. And besides that, the folks ran into some medical issues and they just closed it down, just walked out of the door when his wife had a heart incident, and they never came back to it. They locked the door and they never came back. So that's the way it was for about 5 years, and the windows show it. It's just not been cleaned. And I wanted to have, as Russ said, to get out of education, I became a financial advisor. I got my licenses, did all the licensing, and I thought, okay, I don't want to have the office in my home anymore. I want to have an office somewhere outside of my home. So if you need an office, you just as well buy a 4,500 square foot building, I guess. I don't know. So I'm going to show you what it looked like, okay? And go through these quickly. It was a gift shop, a video store, and I want you to note those parachutes. Those are like your elementary school parachutes, right? That you do May Day with. Do you know why they're there? The roof leaked, and it was catching the water, and it was catching stuff. Pretty nasty, huh? And if you look real close at this picture as well, oh, let's see. Like I said, Russ, I forgot my mouse. What is it doing? Okay, let me try again. Okay, see that floor? How it's buckled up right there along that? You can't see how high it's buckled, but from the moisture, it buckled clear up. That's kind of indicative of how the whole building was. Now we'll just go on from there. Can I get it back to the size? Does anybody know how to do technology? Okay. All right, so just a lot of, if you just look up at the ceiling and you just see a lot of destruction, the thing was really in disrepair. Back in the back where you see it, the wall or the ceiling hanging, it's a sloping flat roof, and that's where most of the water gathered, and it just ran down right there, and it just did so much damage. And there's the look of it on the floor. It's just, this was the only plumbing in there, and yes, you get a better look. Okay, gross. All right, moving on. This was a back room. Everything was full of so much stuff. This is the upstairs. This is the back of it. It was just a mess everywhere. The floor didn't look completely bad in all places, but we didn't know whether to restore it or not. There was the downstairs. It only had a partial downstairs. I could barely walk in there. This is actually after we cleaned a few things up and we could walk around. So this is the job. The first thing I bought was a man lift so we could go up and tear it apart. This was the sewing table that was in the back. This is my grandkids. They had a fun time finding the mannequins and things. And we found this down in the crawl space because it used to be kind of a place that they fixed automobiles, even tractors, and they even shoed horses in there, if you can believe that. So that's after doing some cleanup. It's still a disaster. We got everything split. We kind of cleaned it up. We put up those things because we thought we're going to drop the ceiling. We can't repair that ceiling, so we're just going to drop the ceiling and make sure it doesn't keep falling. And it was just a job after job, one step at a time, tearing off the lath and plaster. This is where we found the we revealed the brick, and we go, oh, that brick is pretty cool, but some of it was pretty arduous. Then we had that coming soon sign on there. I bought it in June, and didn't start working on it until August, and I thought it would be ready by December of that same year. No. We went underneath, and look what was underneath. All of this wood and dirt up against the wood, and the engineer said, no go, you've got to dig all that dirt away from the wood. How are you going to dig it, folks? What would you do?
Hand shovel.
Exactly. You play mine rescue and pretend like there's somebody trapped in there, I guess. And one time we did get a guy trapped in there, but I think he made it out. No, I'm just kidding. We had to pull him out. And so we had to replace all that stuff, and it took a lot of time. And you see that little thing with handles, that's a little electric tiller that we use to try, kind of break things up, but it was all laying on our bellies. And then with each one of those floor joists that you see, the engineer had us go in, and we had to lay on our backs and just slam another board up against it, and they call it sistering. And then we handed back and forth the nail gun to put it up there and secure the floor. It was so much work in the places where you can't even see it, but that's what we signed up for. That's my daughter who helped. And there's some more working on it. Can you see how it's just so close? If you were claustrophobic, forget it. And I had some kids who helped me one day, and they said, we can't come back. But you see all those boards that are sistered now, and then we had to prop up that. That's the work that we didn't see when we bought it, and we had to do that. So then we started putting everything together, had to take stuff apart. The guys who I had help me had full-time, or the guy had a full-time job, and then he had his boys come in, and they were kind of young, and we broke child labor laws and had them work longer than they should have. But then we just started putting it together to make it, we just thought, what are we going to do with this hall? And we made it into an event venue. And so a lot of stuff had to happen to reveal the brick. I got so much help from my family. That's the partially revealing the brick. And there's some more. And they're still working with all of that. We were still working underneath the building. That's me, and that's how I felt. And we started to get it framed, and all this time we didn't know exactly what we were going to do. It's just kind of a floating plan, kind of an innovative project in my mind. And I want to tell you this because this is kind of important for how you go through life. Sometimes you don't know what to do, so you take the next best step. The next best step, and you just feel your way through life. And I would go in there and I would just listen. And then I'd know what to do. And the next best step. And it was fun the whole time for me. Why? Because maybe it was something that doesn't match any of the things that you like to do, but we'll talk about that later. But it was fun for me. So this was a year-long project. It took a year, and it was, well, we were done in June with our first wedding, but we were honestly sweeping up our way out the door when that first bride came. And we didn't get completely finished, so it went on for a year. But this is me doing some more brick. I'm just going to kind of try to get through these quickly. The back was a disaster too. You saw that. We opened it up. We made some new things. We decided to save the floor. We put in some new staircases. That little one's for, let me go back. Well, I didn't go back. Let me go back. This little staircase was for the bride entry, and you'll see it later, okay? So the bride can come out of the bride room. She has this grand entrance. So everything just kind of evolved, one thing after the next. So this is Rob Bourne. He's from Fairview. He said he could fix this floor, and once he started, he's like, oh, why did we say we could fix it? Because they had to replace planks. They had to sand, and that machine is heavy duty, and it has a drum on the bottom of it. If you stop, you're going to, just like if you stop with a weed eater, you're going to dig a hole into the grass, but with this, it was into the floor. And those drums with the sandpaper, they usually are able to get 1,500 square feet out of one bit of sandpaper. They were lucky to get 500 square feet in this building from that. So now the building is the baseline for everything that they say, this is a hard job, not as hard as the building. It was so hard for him, and I think if he had known how hard it was, he probably wouldn't have done it. But look at that. Is that amazing? That is slow-grown maple. It does not exist in the world today, and we saved that floor, thanks to Rob Bourne. Beautiful, and that's even without the finish on it, and that's with the finish. So I want you to see those cubbies right there. And you're probably saying, why is she showing me this picture? Okay, so this right here, see this shiplap? I'm just going to give you, oops, no, I don't want to resolve that. Guess what it's made of? These shelves right here, these video shelves. That's our shiplap. So we saved a lot of the wood, and we made beautiful things out of it. And There you go. That's when it's starting to really start to come alive. Here we lowered the ceiling. We put those acoustical tiles up there. Those guys are fast and they're good. All my family came and helped. We did the final stuff. My sister came up, barn doors, and I don't know why that's there. It's in the wrong place. But that's kind of what it looks like now with the barn doors. And then we kept working on it until, and there's the bride's entrance. These are the bathrooms. So hang on, I'll show you those. This is the first wedding. These are the same guys. Okay, this is an interesting story. These are the same guys who helped me. His son and the guy who drove truck all day and then came and helped me, Richard Zufelt. But anyway, we had that coming soon sign, and then I had this made. This is the day of the wedding. They got up there and put that up. And guess who the first wedding was? His daughter. Isn't that something? Because she wasn't even dating anybody when he started, and his daughter ended up being the first one. And he went underneath the building to help me, and he was scared to death of spiders. I said, for that, every one of your kids get a wedding here for free. So she was a free wedding, and she was the first one, and it was just kind of a nice karma that he did that to help without knowing. So here's the bathroom situation now. We have 5 bathrooms in the building, and that one's upstairs in a playroom. We have a laundry service. This is one of our professionals who works there. Oh wait, they're kind of out of order. Here's the bride's thing. And we still had that. And then they came along and painted it. We've had new windows put in since. Here is the fabric table. We wanted to use it for a buffet table, so painted it. And through the process, made it look like, I'm not going to show you that, but made it look like marble. And that's how it looks now. It's kind of, and here's the kitchen. Those planks that are in there are epoxied in there. That wood is probably 100 years old. They're from the original department store that made those countertops. This is our bride room. Here's our playroom with the bathroom off of it. We also have a shower and a sauna there because that holistic health practitioner has an infrared sauna. Those are the offices down the hall. This is what the back looked like when we started. A lot of work, and now that's what it looks like. It's got concrete and downstairs that we had to completely redo, and it goes cleared back to that vinyl fence. Then we got a new sign. There's Mike Barton up there. That's what it looks like. And now decorated. We have so many events there. We have brides, beautiful weddings. This is what it's about. You know, when we were naming it, we named it the building, and we thought, what are you building? You building family? You building memories? What are you building? And then this next one makes me just look at that groom. We get that so much, and it's just so nice, and families dancing. This is just one of the events, and it makes community. Now we have a door right here, or a curtain right here that's automated so that they just press a button and kind of the grand reveal for the bride. And there's always something to do. We had Christensen Arms had their 20-year anniversary, I think, photo shoot, and they made a big video. We have Witches Night Out, where we do paint nights. This year was the Harry Potter theme. We've done seminars there, other seminars where people just want to teach something. We've had the chamber. We have these headphones called Silent Disco. How many of you have done Silent Disco before? Did you have fun? Yeah. Was it? So fun. You in the back? Yeah? It's a different experience, isn't it? So for those of you who don't know, everybody has these headphones on, and there are 3 different channels that you can choose what music you want to dance to. What it sounds like in the background is whatever it is, like you might be talking or whatever, but what it sounds like in your head is that song. And it puts you in another world, and it is so fun. And you can be dancing with a partner, and they can be dancing to different music than you. So that's what our silent disco. We also have a bounce house for little kids for parties, and we have a lot of little birthday parties, we have bridal showers, we have wedding dinners, and it's honestly open to the imagination of anything. That's a reunion, class reunion that we just had this summer, 50 year. And we also participate, when you're in a small town, you participate, you build the community. So this is our 4th of July parade this year, and that was the light parade for the Christmas thing. We have some offices that people are in, a massage therapist in the bride room when it's not being a bride room. We have a gal that does color analysis so that you can look beautiful with your own skin tones and whatever. She tells you what to wear. And then I have my financial advising there. This year we had a community block party that we had cornhole in the back. And we just had a memorial for a lady who was 99, just short of 100 years old, and she passed. But now, how did this sneak in here? This is me with my kids and grandkids. Once again, this is what I value. And so I've got the life with the building that, and with my financial advising stuff, we can just go do what we want and I can be with my family because that's my joy. And I think the key to life is knowing what really brings you joy and not making your work your life, but your life contributes with your work and balance and stuff that you enjoy, because I think we all are multifaceted, and you know that too. You're multifaceted. You know, the poet said you're not 1, 10, or 10,000 things. You're a lot. And so anyway, I would feel empty if I wasn't able to go up and do these things with my family and my grandkids. And yes, you can give them applause because they're so cute. Oh, I love them. Love them. All right, so now with that said, kind of what I told Russ to begin with is that I want to help you guys to try to come to some ideas. Oh, and I do have one more thing to show. Should I show him that thing that I shared with you first? Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, question?
How did you buy this? How did you finance?
Oh, very good. Because everybody's going to say, where do you get that kind of money, right? Well, my dad died and I inherited some money. And so that's how I got it. But you do have opportunities with venture capitalists. There's Women in Business Utah that have grants. There's things that you can get if you find somebody like me who doesn't want to do this, but you're an innovator. You could probably team up with somebody who just, you know, maybe is more like, I want to give now. I've lived my life, I want to give now, but I don't have the energy to do something like that. If we don't do things like that in these small towns, now that, you know, the online shopping is taken over, what's going to happen to us, you know? You look at Ephraim Main Street and it looks so good now compared to what it was maybe even 10 years ago, because people have come in and they've restored some shops and they've done some things. But we need to keep our downtowns vibrant, because people live, they don't just shop, right? We need things to do. So there are some folks like me who recognize the value of keeping up a main street and even a historic main street. And so you can connect with people who are part of Main Street America, who are trying to, and Ephraim is part of that. It's a historic society. They have them in all kinds of towns all across the United States. It's been around since the 1990s, a program to restore Main Street. So there's something like that. And I think, honestly, that money is a frequency. And if you believe that it will come to you, it will, and you'll find things and doors will open up that you didn't know were there. That's kind of the short answer. You bet. I was going to answer that too. Yeah, go ahead.
You said that at first you didn't have like an exact plan of what you're going to do with the building you were making. At what moment did it start to click? Yeah.
That is an excellent question. One of the things that I feel that next logical step is I had this vision that I wanted an office outside of my home. And being from Gunnison, I drove down the road and I knew who owned that building. And I was just always in my life, I'm thinking, oh, you know, like I said, you know, some people want to see their Main Street dressed up a bit. And I was one of those, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden I was like, that's where we could have some offices. So I called the guy and he came and showed it to me that day. He's retired. And I went and looked at it, and you'd think that I would have run as fast as I could the other way, because you saw the pictures, right? And instead, I went home and I thought about it and went to bed. I got up the next morning and I pulled out some graph paper and I drew it. So even though it sounded like we were just going by the seat of our pants with every plan, I had kind of an overall look that the offices would be on the north and that we'd do something for the big hall to make it a main hall. But what I didn't know is details. For example, revealing the brick. I had a sister who came in, a stepsister who came in, and she says, oh, but it would look so cool. This is when we'd kind of cleaned it up, but it was still just blasé. And she says, it would be kind of cool. Does it have any features like old brick? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And then we ended up finding the brick in the back where the bathrooms were, and we go, I'll bet that's how it is all the way around. So we went to a small spot and we just chiseled off some of the plaster that was over the brick, and sure enough, the place where it's revealed brick, that's what it was. And so I wasn't set on what I was going to do for a finish on that. It was pretty blasé, but as soon as we found that brick, then that's what evolved. See, so it was probably more of an evolutionary kind of process. And just like I said, listening to the building. Another example of that, when we ended up revealing the brick, is, are you guys familiar with what lath and plaster is? Okay, so lath and plaster is what used to be the drywall. They'd put little thin pieces of wood and they'd nail them onto the studs, and then they'd cover it with plaster. Well, that's nothing structural. You don't have to have that. I didn't know that. Everything that I learned, I mean, back in the day, we weren't allowed to take shop as girls, okay? So I didn't know anything. And when the engineer said, oh yeah, that's not structural, you can strip that lath and plaster off, we did off a lot of the walls, but we didn't back in that back corner where I told you all the water had run. And we were about to frame those bathrooms. And I just had this feeling, I call her she. The building, she talked to me and she said, strip that off. Strip off that plaster. And we did. And as we got looking, the studs that it was on, the main beams that hold up the roof and the heaviest part, were rotted out halfway at the bottom. And we were so lucky to find that. And we were able to build that up and make it so it was strong. Once again, just listening for the next logical step. I think there's wisdom out there. We just oftentimes just get so busy in our head, with the phones, with everything. Yes?
So like you mentioned, you have that building, but you also have like your family, and it sounds like you help people with their finances. So what practices have you implemented to help balance your time?
That's a very good question. One, my top priority is with my family. And so if my kids call and they say, can you babysit our kids or can you have the kids for a week? My answer is most of the time, right off the bat, yes. But I look at my schedule. Because I own my own businesses, I can schedule the time that I do things. So if there's an event at the building, and right now I'm the only one working there, the guy who helped me with some cleanup and setup, hurt his shoulder, he's done. So I can schedule the time if there's a party. Usually there aren't two parties back to back, and I can go in at night or early in the morning and do the cleanup or whatever. For my financial advising business, I really don't push that hard, okay? I want to work with only certain people, and so I'm very selective and with people who are referred to me, and I have most of them set up. And so if they need something or if we need an appointment, they're pretty low-keyed and I can reschedule the appointment. But most of the time, if they need something, it's often something that we can do online. The ability to do things online is incredible, right? I mean, what can't you do almost from your phone? And so I can get some documents ready easily wherever there's the internet, and I have it saved to the cloud, and I can bring it down and I can make the documents. So it makes now balancing life and work is easier than it's ever been, I think, in the history of the world. It's something you can do, and you can choose your priorities and work when you want. that said, I don't want you to feel like being your own boss is simply that you can just do whatever you want. You have to be so resilient, and you have to be innovative, and you have to work hard. But when you choose to work hard, it's usually something you love to do. So it doesn't feel so much like work. And that's the key. Try to get your work to be something that you love. That was a very good question. Anybody else?
About 5 minutes in.
Okay.
How do you like set up the business inside the building after you renovated it?
So I personally wanted an office, and the gal who's the holistic health practitioner, she's a friend of mine, and she had a practice up in Idaho. So we just set that up, and she's in charge of her stuff, and I'm in charge of mine. And for each of those offices, they come to me and I lease them to them. So we have certain criteria that they have to be that's kind of conducive to what we're trying to do in the building, and then which is personal services, and we just do a lease. However, with that lease, it is contingent that anything that happens in that main hall, they defer to that. Because what I can make on the main hall is far more than the rent for the buildings. Any other questions? All right, so I've been thinking about some of the things that might help you kind of come, you've heard of the Briggs-Meyer and all of those different kinds of assessments probably. How many of you have done an individual assessment to try to find out what your aptitudes and things are? All right, well, let me see. I'm going to ask Russ. Do you call him Russ or Mr. Tanner?
You can call him Russ.
Okay. Huh. I can't load it.
You trying to get the whole sheet?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to that. Okay, there we go. It just took a minute. Where is it? Sheets. Oh, wait, right there.
While you're pulling that up, JoLyn, do you have any ideas about how students might use this building? Any other-
Yes. Yes, and if you wanted to have some sort of something that anybody who wants to. So one of the things that we do is if you have an idea of something that you'd like to do, maybe you want to do an escape room, maybe you want to do a silent disco yourself, maybe you want to have a craft party. If any person wants to do something like that and try out any kind of entrepreneurial venture, then I work with you and you do it based on an admission that you charge people. And then I just work with you and I try to make you successful in that. And you can take that admission, and then I just get a percentage of it to help cover my expenses at the building. So the more you make, the more I make. We work together, and you can see if you want to actually try certain ventures. And so thanks for that, Russ. Anybody who wants to do that, we've talked, Russ and I have talked about maybe you kids would like to try that and earn some money while you're at Snow College, but do it on your own time and see how that works out. So this is just spinning and spinning. Can you pull yours up since I shared it with you? Maybe it's coming. Did you get it? Okay.
Swap to mine. It's just this sheet, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I haven't passed out Indian swag, so I'm just going to let you give that as you wish.
Okay.
Okay, it's yours to use. Perfect. Okay, so I put together this Google Sheets with the help of AI. So I'm not going to take full credit for it. But so it's a self-assessment journal, because I think one of the things about self-assessments is they're always, you're always leery of the results because they're based on how you answered the questions, right? So this one is more just like a journal that I'm going to have him share with you. And then there's a drop-down entry. Yours didn't come down as a drop-down entry. I'm going to have to do it again. to send it to you. But it's just 10 different days on different things. Are you communicative? Did you enjoy communicating with somebody? Did you get this feeling of elation? Or did you just go, ooh, I couldn't get away? You need to score either one. And you can change these categories because it's just an Excel or a Sheets that you can change the way you want. But I think rather than saying I like this versus this or somewhere in the middle, I think it's how did this feel when I was doing it? For example, you're out mowing the lawn and it's looking great and you're out there working by yourself. All of those things come into play. You're in nature. How did it feel? Oh, I hated this hard work, or I loved it. And when I was done, I could see how nice it looked. You can add these the way that you want. Do you want to work with your hands or work with words, work with numbers? Do you like the mental work? I thought of another one on the way up. Are you an innovator or a person who likes to implement plans that are already created for you? All kinds of things. When I send this to Russ, it'll have a drop down that you can score it 1 through 10, and the lower numbers get a red and the middle numbers get a yellow or a lighter green, and the 9 and 10, so that at the end of tracking this for a while, you can see kind of, wow, I can now kind of tell what I really enjoy and what makes me feel alive. And that's all I had.